Welcome back to today's discussion, Debunking the Myths of Network Modernization, sponsored by Brocade on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM. My guests today are Anthony Robbins, the Vice President of Federal for Brocade, and Tony Celeste, the Director of Federal for Brocade. I'm your host, Jason Miller. Now, before break, we talked about a little bit into security and why the new IP is actually more secure, why open standards makes more sense than the old closed standards. But another piece of this around security is the idea of software-defined networking, and SDN is well known. Anthony, why does security and software-defined networking matter, and why is one important to the other?
It's a big topic. So software-defined networking, and then in fact network functions virtualization, is going to have as profound an impact on the network of the future as anything that has happened to date in networking. It's a big deal. AT&T, one of the world's largest service providers, has announced, and it was covered in the Wall Street Journal, that as much as 75% of their network infrastructure will be virtualized by the year 2020. Jason, that's 5 years away, right, from one of the largest service providers that the world knows today. It's a big deal and a lot of momentum. Brocade has acquired more than 4 software-defined networking companies over the past couple of years. And why? So anything that we can virtualize from a software perspective on the network, we want to do that. And those are things like switching, routing, firewalls, to name a few. And to the extent that we can have the ability to use software where hardware used to be used, we can get 2 things. We can get improved performance and much lower cost. Okay. Then when we come up to the software-defined networking space, where we improve our ability to get orchestration and management of the network, we will also tug at making things more automated, and we can then deliver capacity on demand where capacity is required. And so the opportunities for software-defined networking and network function virtualization are so profound, it requires immediate action from our customers.
So you got me excited. Profound change that we've seen ever in the world of networking, of course.
Absolutely.
Not just ever, because I think sliced bread was pretty good there. That's too.
Correct.
But the idea behind this software-defined networking is, I think the key word you said also was automation, automated changes. Because with hardware, if you had a router that went out, you had to go in, find the router, fix the router. With software, imagine just define it a little more to the next level. You can make that change through the network, right?
Yeah. Well, today, the #1 cost of the network is people. Today, in the federal government, the #1 source of issues in the network is people. And so if we can bring software in to the network infrastructure and network function virtualization, to the extent that we can do that, we can reduce the reliance of processing upgrades and managing network from people to software, and it'll make it more secure, it'll improve capacity, and it'll drive down cost.
So we talked the risks, we talked the benefits, the savings. How do you buy this? Because one of the issues of the government is they don't buy things quickly, and the procurement process can be challenging. Let me turn to Tony. Talk a little about the way you would buy the new IP.
Yeah. Well, clearly the administration and our legislators are putting a lot of emphasis on IT acquisitions, right? Between the IT dashboard, new laws like FITARA, the Federal Information and Technology Acquisition Reform Act, which is empowering the CIOs, right, with these priorities, and to hold them accountable to acquire this new, more innovative technology, operate more efficiently. So when you look at acquisitions, it really begins with, first and foremost, recognizing that your IT environment today isn't delivering on your mission priorities. So it's openly that acknowledgement. And I think the IT dashboard and the transparency associated with it and FITARA demonstrate that they've made that first step. The next item, it begins with open collaboration, and that's with industry. Not just your incumbent suppliers, but the people you're not doing business with today. Because it's not what you know, but what you don't know that's going to be of greater value to you as you move forward. And then it's developing a set of open requirements that drive competition, where its functions, capabilities, service levels linked specifically to mission outcomes. These are going to enable you to acquire. And quite honestly, the FAR supports doing all of this today, including the utility consumption models.
And I think that's been one of the biggest challenges, is that utility consumption model. And in fact, there was a suggestion of legislation to help agencies buy cloud through this model. So I think there's a key here that has to go forward. We're almost out of time. Let me turn to Anthony. One thing about the new IP is okay, we've talked a lot about why you should do it, how you should do it, where you should go to get it, but what needs to be done? What are some of the initial steps agencies should take?
Well, for all of our customers, we basically make 5 recommendations. These recommendations that I'll summarize are shared in our white paper, The Necessity of Network Modernization. In addition, they're supported by the new IP research report that we've just recently announced. And it's all available on brocade.com/fed-new-IP. So what are the recommendations? There's 5 of them. We are recommending that our federal government move to a network infrastructure that's devoid of proprietary protocols and instead promotes the use of open standards. Really important thing to do. As we mentioned earlier, more than 90% of the government believes that is in fact the right thing to do. The second thing that we're recommending is it's important that they go to multi-vendors. Multi-vendors will give them faster rate of innovation and the obvious benefit of driving down costs by increasing competition. The third item that we recommend is to automate and simplify the government's network. In our new IP research report, we found that Ethernet fabrics was a dominant idea relative to network simplification, and so we recommend that as well. Jason, we talked about the importance of software-defined network and network function virtualization. It will have a profound impact on the network of tomorrow and really relate to these mega trends that will be a part of the enterprise of tomorrow. And then finally, as Tony just mentioned, as a service. So we will acquire network infrastructure in a different manner, but more similar to how we're acquiring software and services in the world's data centers. We believe that if the federal government will act on some of these 5 recommendations, they can save more than $1 billion a year. And we document that, as I said, in the white paper, The Necessity of Network Modernization.
All right, 5 easy-to-follow recommendations. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank today's guests, Anthony Robbins, the Vice President of Federal for Brocade, Tony Celeste, the Director of Federal for Brocade. I'm your host, Jason Miller, and you've been listening to the discussion Debunking the Myths of Network Modernization, sponsored by Brocade on federalnewsradio.com and 1500 AM. For more information on this broadcast, visit federalnewsradio.com/thenewip.
On behalf of Brocade, thank you for joining our discussion. We will have the archive from this session available shortly, and a link will be sent to you to share with your colleagues. Those of you who have requested a training certificate will receive an email with download instructions immediately following the webinar. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you.